Morning. It's morning for us. Hi,
Good,
Patrice.
good morning. Hi, Shonda. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Excellent. I'm excited about our topic today. We're,
Yeah. What are you talking about today?
we are talking about how to introduce kids to a more plant-based diet, which is exciting. And although our kids are grown, we can still encourage them. And wow, I'm just like, this is good information. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I hope everyone finds it helpful, no matter what age or stage their children are, or, influence a neighbor, uh,
Yeah.
even, grandchild, just a friend.
Niece and
So,
nephews, now that you mention it, you're
yeah.
right. They're
Mhm.
my cousin. Yeah, she's been influenced by my 9-year-old second cousin. So you're right. We can still continue to encourage people.
Okay. So we came up with some practical ways to implement these ideas.
Yeah, we're all about practicality. And one of them is starting with your shopping for food.
Mhm.
So often kids go with us to the grocery store. So why not make it an opportunity to introduce them to more plants?
Right, yeah. I know, and sometimes you would want them to be distracted and doing their own thing while you do your own thing choosing
Mm.
groceries, but it's important that they are there, you know. I know I look for opportunities to go alone grocery shopping, but even then, we can do that and pick specific days that we take our children into the grocery store with us.
That's an excellent idea. Again, about being intentional and planning so we can plan for certain days to take them. Yeah. So the whole grocery shopping idea, taking your kids with you is a great idea. And then if you've taken them with you, that's super. And you can explain things or talk about things and make it a fun experience,
Mhm.
educating them
Mhm.
about foods. But if they don't go, there's still the opportunity when you get home to allow them to help you unpack the groceries and then talk about what you've purchased and why you've chosen these different things and some exciting recipes that you're thinking of to make with these groceries. And then that just leads us into another idea, incorporating cooking with your kids into your daily schedule, whatever it would be.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I just thought about, I know you had mentioned earlier about picking a new vegetable. So maybe every
Mm.
time you go to the grocery store, you could pick one new vegetable to try. And I think I could do that myself. There's my staples that I get all the time, and then I could just make sure that I get something that I don't often eat. So
Great
that's a good tip
idea.
for all of us, right?
Yes, that's a great idea. And my sister in Seattle, they have farmer markets like every week, and there's one walking distance from her home. And her now 4-year-old son, he
Mm-hmm.
looks forward to going to the farmer market, and he gets to pick out a new fruit or
Yeah.
vegetable like each week. So that's
Okay.
pretty exciting.
That
Yeah.
sounds good. So back to cooking in the kitchen.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, if they're old enough, they could pick a recipe that they would like. That
Mm.
would be
That's
exciting, right? For
very
the
good.
child.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned field trips to the farmers markets or the farms. And, I know here in the warmer climate and maybe other places, I don't know, I only know about here, a lot, there are many berry picking farms.
That's a great thing too, because you take them with you. And then when the children, I know we did that once, and they're more excited. Kids are more excited to prepare things with those strawberries and blueberries that you picked together at the farm. And then usually some of the farms actually have people who will share about how they grow their crops and certain things they make at the farm with the strawberries, for example. So you might even get some recipes to take home. But that's a great idea. Yeah.
Another idea was to grow your own garden.
Yes.
And if that's too much, though, if you're not already doing that, or visit a friend maybe who has a garden, that's
I
an
like that idea.
idea. But
Yeah.
you can always just grow herbs, you know? make a little pot, put some herbs in there because they are really nutritious. Like cilantro is a detoxifier for metals.
Wow, and delicious. I like cilantro and everything. And I'm doing that myself. I don't have a full-blown garden at all, but I bought one of these raised beds and I'm just putting some rosemary and a couple other herbs, and they seem to be a little easier for me
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
start that way. But children
Yeah.
could definitely get encouraged by growing their own herbs with
Mm-hmm.
you. Mhm.
Potted gardens are the easiest, right? Yeah. And so this is something I changed. I normally when I bring my herbs home, I would put them in glass jars with water in the fridge. But,
Oh,
I recently saw someone on YouTube and they just leave theirs out just like I used to leave my kale out, just put it in water and leave it out, and it just looks so pretty. It looks like I have a plant in the kitchen,
mhm.
right? It adds green color. But I was just thinking if we put those herbs like on a windowsill in the water, it looks pretty. And then
Mhm.
it reminds us to eat them because they're out in front of us, you
That's a
know?
great idea. And I have a sister who lives in a townhome, and so she doesn't have a big yard, but she does exactly what you said. She starts so many things in her kitchen in different bowls, and it's just from the roots. And I think they call it the butt of vegetables,
Mhm.
from which you can grow a lot of things. You can just Google it.
Yeah.
There are people who have a lot of instructions on that, but you're right. And it's an inexpensive way to start your own growing in your own kitchen. And it's beautiful and a good reminder of what you want to eat.
Okay. Yeah, so one last way that we thought was the most practical way is to just be an example, right? Let's allow them to see what we're eating, share our plates with them. And then that just reminds me like when if we were having guests over or, I would cook my own food and cook for them. But, it's like, why am I hiding my food? I should be sharing my food. And the reason was is just like I didn't think they would be interested. That was in the beginning. So in the beginning, even if you're making the transition, go ahead and just be willing to share openly with your new foods, with your new creations, with your new recipes.
That's a great point. Show your kids, show our kids how excited we are about what's on our plate. And especially the small kids, it can be a fun activity. And like you said, also sharing what's actually on your plate. A lot of kids like to eat off mom and dad's plate. So sharing what's on our plate and then making our plates colorful. I like to see a lot of color on my plate myself, like the green and the purple, because you have cabbage and then you have some spinach, different things, even the cauliflower and then some peppers.
Mhm.
So that whole rainbow of colors represented on our plates, and we can't forget carrots, can be just something that our kids will begin to think is the norm. And then they will, when they're older, want to have more colorful plates because it's become a habit for them because they saw it when they were young. So I think that's a great idea. So we shouldn't be like, oh, well, here's mommy's plate over here, and then you guys are eating over there. We can just be sharing the information at an early age.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, don't limit them to what don't allow them to limit themselves. Like I only want this, I only want the chicken nuggets and the French fries, and that's it. Okay, so if that's where you are, the chicken nuggets and French fries, but put a color on the plate too, and allow them to explore that also.
I I think it's important what you just shared because you hear so many stories like, oh, well, my child will only eat this and they won't eat it. Oh, they won't like that. And I especially hone in when they say they won't like it. That just reminds me to say, well, have they tried it? Because oftentimes we'll assume they won't like something, but we don't know. That was something with our kids. I was like, there might be things they don't prefer, but I want them to try everything.
Yeah.
And then they can decide that's what they like or don't like. But too often, I think kids are just saying, I don't want that. and then
Right.
they
And
never try it.
yeah. So that reminds us, with how to start maybe making the transition then. So I just thought maybe first, yeah, we can start with more fruits.
Mm,
If they eat a limited amount of fruits, like maybe they just like strawberries and bananas, but expand that out because, there's more fiber opportunities, there's more
mm,
antioxidant opportunities, there's more, so just maybe try a new fruit each week also.
mm.
I know we talked about trying a new vegetable, but maybe
Yes.
trying a new fruit too,
Mm,
because fruits are just as important. And usually they're sweeter. So children will, enjoy those more and start with the fruits. It's like, oh, this new fruit, oh, these is tasting so good. So then, you slip in, oh, this new vegetable,
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also, I was thinking that when you are introducing vegetables, introduce it, maybe two ways. Because I even have an adult child that prefers vegetables to be raw versus cooked. So, with children, people with younger palates or whatever, they it's really all about the texture of the food. They may not like a mushy cooked vegetable. They may think it's too mushy or something, but they may enjoy that crunch. So that's just a thought that
That's a good thought, Shonda, because now that I think about it, a lot of kids are impacted by texture and even have occupational therapy um, classes they go to, or they're working on that, their families, so that they can eat better. But perhaps we could maybe avoid some of that if we were introducing not just our vegetables steamed or soggy, but we have some raw introduced, and maybe not always introducing the most pungent vegetable first,
Mhm.
starting with the squash or even the peas first, because I made the mistake when my kids were still the not even a year or two, but when you first introduce them to solid foods, one of the first vegetables I introduced my daughter to was kale. And kale can be, thankfully, she likes kale to this day, but I will say that very first introduction, I didn't think it out. Let's just put it that
Yeah,
way.
that was kind of tough. That's a tough one.
True. So just being intentional and planning. Okay, what are we introducing this week?
Hmm.
And that's why I like how you said the fruits. We want to introduce those. Maybe don't just stick to the fruits. So you do want to incorporate some vegetable up front too, because then that child might acquire more of the sweet, wanting the
Yeah.
more sweet taste of the
Hmm.
fruit. But and maybe some of the less sweet fruits, because the banana is probably one of the sweeter ones.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
make sure we are including some of the not as sweet, because tomatoes is not a fruit.
It is a fruit. A lot of the vegetables are fruits. I think the ones with the many seeds are fruit.
Okay.
But yeah, tomatoes, I know that they're sweet. If the child has not been eating a lot of sugar, the tomatoes are sweet and different things. So yeah, that's good. And and along with, I was thinking with raw foods.
Mm,
With raw foods, you could put a dip on the side for that vegetable, such as
yes.
hummus
Yes.
or guacamole and other different dips and bean dips, which
Yeah.
reminds me, let's not forget about the many varieties of beans.
Mm,
Just think about it. Beans are little small, they're small, um, little bites, and so, we want to make sure that I guess the child's over two or so
yeah.
when they're eating a bean, but make sure is being chewed well. But beans have just a nice texture, I think, when they're cooked properly and seasoned well. And I think that many children, would like beans. So I'm not just talking about baked beans with, that's normally the first introduction, but black beans, lentils, chickpeas, just a variety. That is an area that we can put a lot of variety on the plate with, is a variety of beans.
Well, that's a great point. And that reminds me about some practical ideas for menu ideas. And we don't have to go all into it, but for example, you could start your child with a more plant-based breakfast with like some fruit and some oatmeal, perhaps, and a nut milk if they can. Nut milk, if you feel comfortable, depending on their age.
Mm-hmm.
But then for that lunch, you just brought up beans, making when they're older a pita sandwich or something with hummus.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you could get those chickpeas, and that's basically what hummus is,
Yeah.
smashed chickpeas. So
Yeah.
great
So that
idea.
way, and then a bean quesadilla, you know,
Yes,
those are
yes,
really good. Pinto bean
very.
quesadilla.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I think we talked about one last way. It's not really introducing, but it does allow their palate to get used to more advanced tastes would be to hide vegetables in some foods. You know what? I don't like, it's not really about hiding, it's still about the texture for
Mm.
children. So they may not want to chew the zucchini in the spaghetti sauce or something. But I know that at times, even now, when I go ahead and I make a spaghetti sauce, but I puree all those ingredients together, the flavor is just up to notch.
Good. Yes, it's so good. So I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a great idea. Even for adults,
Hmm.
some adults, they don't even know what all's in that spaghetti sauce,
Right.
but it's just delicious and nutritious.
Yeah, it adds different flavor levels. So yeah, I think so. That's a good way to just go ahead and make that sauce and puree all the vegetables in there. So that's one way. And when we're talking about pureeing, my favorite is a smoothie.
Okay. Yes,
A
that's right.
smoothie.
I like them too. Very.
Yeah, because you can mix the sweetness of the fruits plus the greens. I'm all for adding greens to the diet because they're the best detoxer and energizing food there
Sure.
is. And
Mhm,
so just add something green and you can start with spinach because spinach
mhm.
is, and maybe, for if they don't want green drinks, I'm just thinking on what's that day in March? The Irish Day. What?
St. Patrick's Day? Okay. So make it fun, like a theme.
Make a green smoothie for St. Patrick's Day,
I like the creativity.
And you know what else? Yeah, let's see. So like a scrambled tofu, you
Mm.
could add some pureed green juice or something in there and make and like a version of green eggs and like.
Oh, green eggs and ham.
Yeah, but it would be like bacon or another tempeh tofu bacon or something like
Mm.
that. So there's just get creative and fun. And, you can make images on your plates with, carrots and peas and things like that. Or like you say, make the rainbow on the
Oh,
plate,
yeah.
you know. So they're just really fun ways to do that.
Super fun. And now that you mention it, especially spinach, because often you can't even taste the spinach in a
Yeah.
smoothie and I think you used to make muffins with spinach or other great
Other
vegetables.
vegetables, zucchini muffins. Yeah, zucchini muffins are really
Oh,
good.
that's
Yeah, and you could instead of putting so much sugar in there, you could use raisins instead.
and
Those are good.
applesauce to make it
Yeah,
moist.
applesauce, banana zucchini
Mm,
muffins. Yeah, we're gonna
delish.
have to find a recipe and post that with this show.
I'm
You
getting
know.
hungry.
Uh-huh. So yeah, there was if there's not anything else, there was just one reference you found that you wanted to share, and I'll make sure that the link is with the show notes. Is there anything
Yes.
you wanted to say about that?
Yes, there was an excellent resource I found online, plantplate.com. And not only did they talk about how to introduce your children to a more plant-based diet, but they actually had some recipes
Mm.
and they, within their article, they referenced some other great resources. One I think you're very familiar with. The
PCRM. That's, yeah, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I do frequent their website very
Okay.
often. We'll put the link below.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, I hope everyone's encouraged to try some ideas to encourage your kids or any young person that you're influencing to try more plants and fruits and vegetables, basically. And make it fun. Like Shonda, you had some great ideas about how to be creative and make it fun. So I hope people are encouraged to do so.
Yeah, and we can even share this with our adult friends and family.
Yes, true. And that resource that we mentioned earlier has some great recipes for the whole family. And that's a very good point. Everything we talked about can apply to everyone, including us as adults.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. A great thing. We hope you enjoyed watching today's video of our podcast. A link to the show notes can be found below this video. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any future videos. And be sure to comment below and let us know what you think about this format. Until next time, let's just be real.